Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jimmy Smith Jr., and thank you so much for coming over to my YouTube video. This is actually for Southern Regional Technical College. Visor Neil Clements, President Dr. Wentworth in Thomasville, Georgia. Guys, right now what I'm going to go over with you today is how to pre-trip a vehicle. Pre-tripping a vehicle is very important. It helps you point out little mechanical failures that can hinder you up while you're driving down the road. It can save you a bunch of financial grief. If you find something early before it breaks, that'd be awesome. $10 fix could be $1,000 fix if you don't get appropriate attention to it at that time. So I was going to let's see here, see if I can flip it over here. Guess you can't. Actually, I was going to do a pre-trip on a big truck, but the components, they're not too much difference. This one's just going to have, bigger tires, more air pressure. It's going to have air brake system on it, hydraulic boxes, and a few more other little gauges that a personal vehicle is not going to have. And the reason I want to go over a personal vehicle with you all, because a lot of us rent cars. We may rent U-Hauls, whatever. We may borrow a friend's car. And sometimes it's best to go over the vehicle and inspect it and do the pre-trip, because again, it can save you a bunch of grief. You can borrow your friend's car, go rent a car, and if you just jump in it and don't check the oil, you may blow a rod, or you may go down the side of the vehicle and you can find a bunch of dents and scratches. And if you don't report it, and when you bring it back, guess who's possibly liable? Correct, the person that uses the car. So today, guys, first thing I want to talk to you about is going under the hood. You always want to pop your hood. That's the best way that you can get into your vehicle. I know it sounds kind of funny, but a lot of people, they'll go in there and look at the gauges on their car, and they'll see, hey, what my oil said I was fine. It was at 50. It was halfway. That doesn't mean anything, guys. You actually have to pop your hood in order to check your oil. Now you have a bunch of components under here that's dealing with fluids. You have your power steering, which on this one here, my power steering is actually going to be with my, excuse me, I'm so sorry. This is my brake fluid. Now, each component or each reservoir, it takes different fluid. You cannot put motor oil with your brake fluid, and you can't put transmission fluid with your brake oil, and you can't put antifreeze where your power steering fluid is at. You have to make sure that each area that you're checking that's dealing with the fluids is put back with the specific fluid that needs to go back into that reservoir. So right here, it pretty much tells you on top of the truck, this is actually your brake fluid. You're going to use .3 brake fluid only. On this one here, you can't, there's not a stick on most of these here. There's actually, on the side of your braking thing here, they're going to have a max, which you can probably see here, and they're going to have a medium here. You always want to make sure that you got this up here. I mean, you can ride it up here if you like, but I always like to keep my stuff, at the max level. With your power steering fluid, this is your power steering fluid here. I want you to keep in mind that even though on this particular vehicle that we're on today, which is a 2007 Chevrolet Avalanche, when you go to another car, they usually be in the same vicinity, but sometimes it can be in different spots. So just because I'm checking it here, I do want to put my disclaimer in, is that sometimes the oil stick may be on the other side of the car, the transmission fluid may be on one side, but sometimes, most of the times, the oil stick and the transmission, they are color coded. Some will be red or yellow or blue, or they have different colors. Just kind of get accustomed to your vehicle, and if you can't, there's always a manual in the glove box. Take that manual and understand your vehicle. But again, we're going to go back to the power steering fluid. Power steering fluid is always going to have a stick. It won't have a peep sight like the brake caliper did here. You're actually going to have a stick here, and you look at the stick. You'll see here it's got two lines on it. And you always want to keep it at that first line here, right here at the top here. That's where you want to kind of make sure that your level is at. A few things I like to do as well when I'm under here checking, I always like to check my serpentine belt. make sure it has a lot of play. Make sure it does not have a lot of play. Right now, this is in great shape. My threads are in very good shape. I don't see any cracks or anything, so my build is in pretty good shape. As you cross over a little bit here, how I was telling you about how the oil and the transmission sticks are going to have their own different colors. Actually, on my vehicle, the yellow is going to be my motor oil, and the red is going to be the transmission fluid. Now, I do want you to keep in mind that you can check your transmission fluid when it's cold, but it's best to check your transmission once your car is running and gets warmed up, you know, get the fluids going. But here, this is my motor oil. Usually when you pull out a motor oil stick, it's going to have a bunch of little X's, and I don't know if I put it real close so you can see these little, where the little holes at, you see a bunch of those little X's. As the X get up to the top, all those little X's come up to the top. That's where you want your fuel level to be at. You never want your fuel level to be near the add mark. You're asking for trouble. You could blow a rod, or most of the times what you possibly could do, you probably could blow a rod. But always try to keep your oil level at the highest mark on those X's. Once again, it's my transmission fluid here. I'm not going to check that at the moment because I haven't really run. This is my antifreeze. You all want this antifreeze here. There's not a stick to check your antifreeze. You actually have to look at the peep sight here, and you can see that it has the level here. Actually, I need a little bit. Yeah, I actually need a little bit because it's way down here, and my fuel line is here. Again, you can always look at your peep sights on these types, because antifreeze and your power and your brake reservoir, they're not going to have sticks to where you can check it. They're going to have the little sights letting you know full and medium. Okay, pretty much that's all that we're going to check up under the hood. Once you come out, I would always recommend that you go down and you check the body, and you look for any type of scratches or dents, especially when you're renting a car. Renting a car or borrowing your friend's car, this is one of the things that you most definitely want to do, is check the body out. Because again, if I was to let you borrow my vehicle, and I may have hit something I wasn't aware of, but I don't notice it until the next day after you brought it back, of course I'm going to say that, hey, you put this scratch in my car, you had it last, etc., etc. And then, you know, either we're going to have some type of dispute, or friendship is going to end about, you know, a couple of dents in the car or something of that nature. But anywho, you always want to go down the side of the vehicle, make sure that their rims, if they have rims, no matter what kind of rims they have, make sure that they're not dented up, scratched up. Look at the side of the body, make sure everything is good. You want to do all that. Now, if you're using the car to get ready to go out on a long trip, maybe a 45-minute or hour trip, I would always most definitely, if you don't know how to check your air pressure, you can always go to one of the full service gas stations and let them check your air pressure. But if you do know how to check it, there's actually a little gauge. It's a tire gauge. I don't know if I have one in the truck or not. I do not at the time, but there's a tire gauge. And on the side of the tire, this is no matter what vehicle you go to, always look here on the side. Always read it here in the fine print. If you go here on the fine print somewhere on the tire, it'll tell you what it's your PSI, max PSI should be for your tire. So no matter what tire you go to, it can be a big truck, it can be a motorcycle, it can be a bicycle tire, it does not matter. It is always going to have the max PSI recommended for that tire. So always look on the side of the tire if you're going to try to do your own pumping. Always check the tread of your tires. If you're going to go out of town, you don't want to have a worn out tire and get there and have a blowout. Check and see if your spare tire, or if there is a spare tire on the vehicle, check it out as well. Make sure that it is in capable condition. So if something does happen to the current tire on the car, you want to make sure that your backup is in just as good a shape to get you to your next stop. Again, you just want to check the whole vehicle, make sure there's no dents and scratches. Right here, there is a dent here from pulling the trailer, but these are the things that you want to point out. You can write them down on a piece of paper. Usually what we do with my job, we have a pre-trip book and we sign all this stuff in a book. But again, if you're doing this on your own and you're renting a car or U-Haul or whatever it is that you're borrowing for or the little time that you're going to have it, I would suggest that you get your own piece of notebook paper and write down all the problems that you find with the vehicle. And before you move it, especially if you're using your friend's car, call them. Well, hey, I want to point something out to you before I pull off. I noticed you have a dent in the back of your truck. I just want to point that out to you. Or I noticed that your oil level was low. What type of oil do you put in it? Some people are particular what kind of oil they put in their vehicle. You know, you have some people want to put 5W weight, 20W weight, 10W weight. If you have to add fluid to someone's vehicle, ask them what kind of they're putting in there. And if you can't get in there, always go back to your manual. You can never go wrong with the manual. But other than that, you all, this has just been a quick tutorial. This isn't a full detail on how to go in and check the shackles and your shocks and your sidewalls and all that other good stuff like that. This is just a good tutorial on how to cover yourself when you're borrowing someone else's vehicle. Again, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my video, and I apologize for all the ums and ahs. It was just pretty much something I done just out of the blue. Again, this is for Southern Regional Technical College here in Thomasville, Georgia. This is for assignment, actually, and I want to thank Neil Clements for giving us the opportunity to do something different. I have never done a video online, and so this is my first time. Thanks again for Southern Regional Technical College for giving me new endeavors, helping me get more acquainted with technology. But again, thank you all so much. I'm Jimmy Smith.